What is up, fam? Thank you for tuning in to So Real Sports Talk TV this beautiful morning. I just had some things to talk about, get off my chest. So, obviously, one of the biggest contentions, I believe, with 49ers Twitter this offseason is what the play of the offensive line is going to be. And, there's a lot of different opinions. You have people that are saying that the offensive line is just terrible. It's bad. The team didn't do enough. Trey Lance doesn't have a chance to have a successful year because of the makeup of this offensive line. To people that believe the offensive line is going to be fine, everything is going to be okay, and there's still a solid situation. So we're just going to break it down a little bit and discuss to you why I believe the offensive line actually has the potential to be even better than they were last year. And just hear me out before you get at me too hard, but one of the biggest takeaways I had from the OTA interviews was it seemed like the whole team, from Kyle Shanahan to all the players, really believe Alex Mack is coming back, right? Kyle Shanahan had the statement that we pretty much know what Alex Mack is going to do. I think you guys do as well. I didn't know, but it seemed like just from the overall confidence level of just the players, from Trey Lance to George Kittle, everybody just seemed to assume that Alex Mack was coming back. It didn't sound like they were replacing anybody at center. It didn't sound like we're thankful for what Alex Mack has done for us and send him out into retirement. It really seemed like he was coming back and everybody expected him back for mandatory minicamp coming up in a few weeks here. So him coming back, I think, does wonders for the offensive line, because obviously you have an all-pro level center that's seasoned to really come in there and be the stalwart of that offensive line. So that's my assumption, is Alex Mack is coming back, because it seems like that's the assumption of the 49ers. So with Alex Mack coming back, what that means for the 49ers offensive line is they're returning 4 out of 5 starters. So one of the biggest things for an offensive line is continuity. So the offensive line, 80% of the offensive line from last year is coming back this year. And why is that a good thing? Well, one is last year's offensive line was actually probably higher rated than many people give them credit for. They were a top 9 offensive line by any metric or any grading factor. And, if you are a big PFF fan, they actually had the 49ers offensive line ranked 3 in out of all the offensive lines in the league last year. Now, PFF, obviously, you take that with a grain of salt because they have their own, metrics and algorithms and whatnot. But overall, the 49ers were ranked anywhere between 7 and 9 by, all other sites that were grading offensive lines. So you're talking about a top 10 by all standards offensive line. Bringing back 80% of that, a very, very good sign. And they're also getting a little bit healthier. So 4 out of 5 are coming back. With Alex Mack coming back, 4 out of the 5 starters were either drafted in the first or second round. So it's not like the 49ers didn't spend or, aren't bringing in top level talent, right? If you're drafted in the first or second round, which, 80% of the 49ers offensive line this upcoming season would have done, with Trent Williams, Alex Mack, and Mcglinchey all being first-round draft picks, and then Aaron Banks moving into left guard was a second-round draft pick. So the talent level is there as far as who the 49ers are going to be working with. So 80% of the offensive line is coming back. 80% of the offensive line is a premier top-level talent. So these are all just the baseline for what the 49ers offensive line is going to be this upcoming season. And both of those things are good, right? You would rather have premium talent at most of your offensive line positions. You would rather have most of your starters coming back than less of your starters coming back. So for me, that's why I already think the 49ers offensive line is going to be fine, right? But there is opportunities for them to actually get better. And let me discuss why. So first off, I think we'll go position by position. Let's start with right tackle. Look, Mike Mcglinchey obviously went down last season. He only played half the season and then went down with the season-ending injury. From all indications, it looks like he is ahead of schedule and able to come back to the team, possibly even for the start of the year. Now, with that being said, I know there's up and downs about how good Mike Mcglinchey is. Some people believe he's good. Some people believe he's terrible. Me, on the other hand, I just think that he's going to be an upgrade over what we had last year in Tom Compton. Tom Compton came in and did play well in the second half of the season, but he isn't Mike Mcglinchey, right? Mike Mcglinchey, for all of his ineffectiveness at times, is an extremely effective run blocker. One of the best right tackles when it comes to run blocking in the league. He runs this zone scheme very well when it comes to run blocking, and a majority of this offense is going to be the run. Even though Trey Lance is starting, I still believe it's still going to be a run-first team. So having Mike Mcglinchey back, I think, is a big upgrade and going to be very good for the 49ers. Not only because of the level of talent that he has and his ability, but also we got to understand what the situation is for Mike Mcglinchey. So this is Mike Mcglinchey's 5th year in his contract. So next year, he doesn't have any more guaranteed money, right? This is a contract year for him. And what do we know about players in their contract year? We know that they are going to be highly motivated, and they understand that how they perform this season is going to set up the rest of their career, right? Whether it be an extension with the 49ers or it is him auditioning for another contract with another team. So Mike Mcglinchey not only is coming back, a talent upgrade over the right tackle we had last year in Tom Compton, he is also going to be a very motivated version of Mike Mcglinchey because he is out of his contract year, or this is his last year of his contract. Next year, he doesn't have a contract. So he is auditioning for his next position. And Swan Song coming in, Mike Mcglinchey. Yeah, man, I think we're going to get the best version of Mcglinchey as far as focus level, as far as motivation. So for me, if I'm going right tackle from last year versus right tackle from this year, upcoming season, I'm going to say the right tackle play will actually be better because we are getting a healthier Mike Mcglinchey, a more motivated Mike Mcglinchey, and a more talented player at right tackle than we had last season. So in my books, right tackle this season is going to actually be better than last season. So let's go next position over, right guard. Last season was Daniel Brunskill. With Alex Mack coming back and going to be playing center, and that's the assumption that we're making, is Daniel Brunskill can be the right guard, right? So Daniel Brunskill started most of the season last year. I'm not going to sit here and say Daniel Brunskill is like the best right guard ever. He was, on all of these ratings from the offensive line, he was, the lowest rated offensive lineman out of the 49ers. And he's not terrible, but he's not a superstar by any stretch of the imagination either. He's just good enough to be your starter, right? And that's basically the base that we're going to have at right guard, right? It's either going to be either going to be Daniel Brunskill or somebody else that can play better than Daniel Brunskill. And that is what is going to be really interesting, right? So we know that at least the right guard position compared to last season is going to be at least the same with Daniel Brunskill there. However, there is an opportunity for maybe an upgrade, right? So with Brunskill nursing some knee tendonitis, he's not going to necessarily take all the reps when it comes to minicamp. I think they're going to, slow play him in, which is going to give a guy like Jalen Moore, an opportunity to really showcase what he's capable of doing. And Jalen Moore, to me, is somebody who showed flashes last season. He's a guy who is athletic. He's somebody who can, I think, turn into the future right guard for the position. He obviously played tackle in college, but the 49ers are moving him to guard, and it seems like he's taking that challenge very, very well. And if he can actually beat Brunskill at the right guard position, now I'm thinking that we actually see an upgrade at the right guard position, right? Because he is more athletic than Brunskill. He's obviously younger, and obviously ascending, where Brunskill is probably on the tail end of his career. So at the right guard position, worst case scenario, we're the same as last year with the top 10 offensive line. Best case scenario, a guy like Jalen Moore comes in and actually upgrades the position. So we might even be better. So when I'm looking at right guard, I'm saying we're at least the same, if not a little bit better. Then we come to the center position, right? Alex Mack, we're assuming is coming back. That assumption is based off of everything that we're hearing from, OTAs. It seems like Kyle Shanahan is pretty confident Alex Mack is coming back. Trey Lance, Kittle, all of these guys seem pretty confident that Alex Mack is coming back. Nobody's really talking about, retirement. They just seem like he's coming back for his final year. And, we just saw, Whitworth with the Rams, kind of go out in the, sunset after winning a Super Bowl. One thing, Alex Mack has had an amazing career, one of the, best centers in the league for a long time. The one thing that is missing in his repertoire, he's gotten all pros, Pro Bowls, all those types of things. Doesn't have a Super Bowl. So with the team being as good as they are this year, I could see him coming back, making one last attempt to be able to win that Super Bowl. And when you talk about that, he's going to be coming back and motivated, right? This is for sure is going to be his last season. I don't see him coming back next season. This would be, the second year of the 2-year contract that the 49ers gave him. So when Alex Mack's coming back, he understands what it is. It's not for more money. It's not, to do anything but maximize this year and, go out there and win a Super Bowl. So this is going to be, he's going to empty the tank this season. So for me, obviously with Alex Mack, you have at least the same, if not a more motivated, better Alex Mack. And what I mean by that is, look, the first half of the season with Alex Mack wasn't the best version of Alex Mack, right? He got pushed around. He looked old. I don't know if you guys even remember all the jokes about him being sweaty and all that kind of stuff, right? It wasn't necessarily as good as we wanted it to be in the beginning. And that's when the 49ers really struggled with their, wins and losses, right? They were up and down, kind of looking like a team that was going to underperform based off of all of our expectations. But when Alex Mack started playing like the Alex Mack that we all wanted to see him, coming from Atlanta and all that kind of stuff, 49ers started rattling off wins. Offensive line started playing a lot better. Running game got better, so on and so forth. So for me, that's the version of the Alex Mack we're going to get from week 1 all the way into a deep playoff run, hopefully a Super Bowl. Alex Mack is going to be at that top level. So for me, the center position, minimum the same, if not a little bit better, right? Then we move into the left guard position. Now, this is one that I can't spin too much because obviously we lose Laken Tomlinson, and we're most likely going to put in Aaron Banks there. 2nd round draft pick. So it's not like we're putting in some quote unquote scrub, right? We're putting in somebody who was obviously highly rated by the 49ers brass and throughout the league as well, right? He had a 2nd, 3rd round draft grade. I guess consensus was either a 2nd or 3rd round pick. 49ers picked him in the 2nd round. Now, am I going to sit here and say Aaron Banks is better than Laken Tomlinson? I'd be lying if I said that. Look, Laken Tomlinson is one of the best left guards in the league. He obviously proved that by his ability to go out there and get big money from the Jets. One of the things that I, admired about Laken Tomlinson, I think the thing that, most 49er fans loved about Laken Tomlinson is, his best ability was his availability, right? He was an Iron Man for this offensive line, missed very few games, if any, for injury. And, for a team that deals with injuries a lot, especially on the offensive line, to have a guy that you knew was going to be there consistently was great, and he is going to be missed. And I'm not sitting here and saying, Aaron Banks is some huge upgrade over Laken Tomlinson, because he's not. He's not as athletic as Laken, obviously not as experienced as Laken. And Laken Tomlinson, I believe, has a more of a nastier streak that you like to see out of your offensive line than I think Aaron Banks is. But that's not saying Aaron Banks is some scrub. Aaron Banks is a big boy, right? He's 300 plus pounds, 6'5". And although he's not the most athletic offensive lineman, right? He could be more athletic. Whenever his athleticism needs to help him win a play, he tends to, he's going to lose that, more times than not. But he isn't going to be a liability. And this is why, right? He coming from Notre Dame. And just like Laken Tomlinson came from Duke, a smart guy. Notre Dame, same kind of thing, right? They're known not only for their athletics, but also for their education. So Aaron Banks is a smart dude. And how that bodes well is obviously on the offensive line, with Kyle Shanahan's playbook, being smart helps, right? So Aaron Banks is going to have the mental capacity to handle the playbook. But he also is very familiar with this zone scheme, right? He ran a lot of it at Notre Dame. So it's not necessarily going to be something that is foreign to him. He got a whole year to learn the playbook, wasn't asked to play too much, had a few, snaps here and there, but overall was pretty much a redshirt year for Aaron Banks. So he got to sit back, kind of watch how the team prepared, watched, what worked, probably was in all of those film sessions, learning from, the guys ahead of him, how to be a better pro, how to be a better offensive lineman. So now he's going to get the chance. But where does Aaron Banks excel? He excels at his technique. He's a very technical offensive lineman, very technical left guard, right? What does that mean? Like, that means that, he's going to put his hands in the right place. He's going to make sure he moves his feet. He's going to make sure that he's able to finish blocks, even if he might not be in the right position initially. So where do I think that it's an upgrade at the left guard position? Absolutely not. I do think that there is a lot of room for improvement with Aaron Banks. He needs to get better at, when he's uncovered on the offensive line. He needs to get better when he needs to make it to the second level versus just the initial hits, right? But I don't think he's necessarily a huge liability, right? Because I do think he's still going to have a lot of technique that he brings to the position. I do think he's going to be familiar with the play. And let's be honest, last year, he didn't get a chance to play left guard because Laken Tomlinson was there. They tried to put him at right guard, and we know the 49ers are notorious for that, taking guys and then moving them out of their natural position. And, not all the time do they look good. We even see a guy like Jimmy Ward who, talked about that in his, OTA interview where he discussed, when he first got brought into the 49ers, they moved him out of position. So maybe people didn't look at Jimmy Ward as good as they look at him now. And it wasn't because he didn't have the ability. He didn't have, the work ethic and all that kind of stuff. It was just he wasn't playing his natural position where he was most comfortable, where all of his tools could be utilized in the right way. So I believe that is going to be similar to what we see in Aaron Banks, where a lot of time, a lot of people have been down on him because he didn't look as good at right guard. But now he's going to move to left guard, which is his natural position, where he played all through college. He started 2.5 years at Notre Dame on a pretty decent offensive line. So I don't think it's necessarily going to be an upgrade. I don't even think necessarily it's going to be the same level of play as Laken. So this is one position where I say maybe they're going to be, a downgrade at this position because obviously first year as a starter, not as talented as Laken Tomlinson, who obviously has, all pro, level talent and ability as he's shown in the league. But I don't think that Aaron Banks is necessarily going to be a liability. I think being sandwiched between Alex Mack and Trent Williams is going to bode very well for Aaron Banks. Those are two extremely good offensive linemen that have played in the league quite a bit and can teach Aaron Banks, a lot. And let's not act like Laken Tomlinson didn't benefit from some really good, left tackles as well, right? Whether it be, Trent or, man, I'm missing the left tackle before Joe Staley. I can't believe I forgot Joe Staley. But yeah, he played, with really good left tackles as well. And that does help out the left guard. So Aaron Banks, I think, will be fine. Not as good as Laken right away, but has the potential, to grow into that position, especially being, surrounded by Trent and Alex. And then obviously at left tackle, we have Trent Williams. Trent Williams, the best left tackle in the league, the highest rated offensive lineman last season. And I don't expect him to play any worse. Let's be real. This is going to be his third year in the system. He should be fully healthy. And, this is his offensive line at this point, right? He is arguably the best player on the 49ers offense, and definitely, the best at his position. So, you look at this offensive line with, the talent of Trent, the talent of Mack, Mcglinchey coming back, and then a young, highly touted guy in Aaron Banks, and then either Brunskill or a guy like Jalen Moore that comes in and infuses some youth and athleticism to that right guard position. Overall, I think that this offensive line does have the potential to stay, in the top 9 as they were last season, maybe even eke up a little bit more into, maybe the top 8, top 5 offensive line. And, with the upgrade that most of us think is going to happen with the athleticism of Trey Lance and his ability to, open up the passing game, not to mention the running back room got a lot younger as well. As long as this offensive line, these starters do stay healthy, I do believe it can be even better than last year. And Harold Murillo, thank you for joining in. Main thing is that the offensive line stays healthy. Obviously, that is, key for anybody's offensive line. But the good thing about the 49ers is this offseason, they didn't go off after just making a whole lot of big splashes when it comes to big names and things of that nature. They went after a lot of depth, right? And the 49ers do have a lot of linemen on this team that have played meaningful reps as starters all across the offensive line. As far as the depth, they did bring in, a couple more rookies and, guys like Spencer Buford, who obviously has shown out. A lot of people are impressed with what he's shown in very minimal play so far. So they have a lot of depth there. So obviously, you want to be able to play your starters throughout the whole season, but this is the NFL. We do know that injuries are going to happen. And I do think that the 49ers, as long as there's not like season ending injuries, but even then, right, they lost their right tackle last year to a season ending injury. They still ended up finishing top 9. I do think that, they have guys at the level of Tom Compton that are going to be able to come in and replace if need be. But hopefully we don't see that. I do think this team has a lot of talent on the offensive line. I do think that the starters can be just as good, if not better, than last year. And I do believe that the depth this year is actually better than the depth last year. So overall, I do think that there is a chance this offensive line could be better than last year. And with a more mobile quarterback, with what I believe is going to be a younger, healthier, more aggressive rushing attack, I think this offensive line is going to be fine. I think that the offense overall is going to be fine. And I'm excited to see, training camp, who actually wins, that right guard position, how good Aaron Banks actually looks, in his natural position, and then get to see what, some of these younger guys and this depth, who actually makes the 53-man roster and, who, rising tides lifts all boats, right? So the competition there at the offensive line, I think, is going to make everybody a lot better. So that's my take on the offensive line. I know there's a lot of doom and gloom out there when it comes to the O-line. Keep it here at So Real Sports Talk for a little bit of positivity when it comes to the 49ers. Love you guys. Have a beautiful day. Remember, stay healthy, stay hydrated, and we'll talk again very, very soon.